Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Not a Roadrunner. This is episode 11. So this one was a bit of a fix, I suppose, rather than a mod. Basically, I was driving along, drove it round the block because it just needed to sort of warm up a bit because I hadn't started it in a while, and came back and I heard this and it was kind of running funny and kind of losing fuel pressure. Went to the back, and as you'll see in the clip in a minute, the fuel hose at the back split and was just pouring everywhere. So one nice little fire hazard, and it was pouring onto the exhaust, which was even better. So yeah, the Plymouth basically almost caught fire, and this is an episode on how to fix that problem.
Follow the trail of breadcrumbs to the culprit. First thing I tried to do was clog it up with duct tape to stop the flow of fuel. Then, for easy access, I chocked the wheels and jacked up the car. Always make sure your jack stands are safe and secure before you get under the car.
So as you can see, our nice little bot's job to stop it leaking. So we're going to replace that bit of hose. I think I'm going to make it a bit longer. It's 8mm, and as you can see, there's these little clips up there, so they're going to need replacing as well. So just some Jubilee clips. So that's what I'm going to replace them with, and hopefully that will solve our fuel issue.
First things first, you need to remove the duct tape that we put on there to stop the leak. I had already installed a one-way fuel valve in this hose, so first thing I did was take it out and undo the Jubilee clips that I'd installed. After releasing the Jubilee clips around the one-way fuel valve, I realised it was wedged because of the upper hose, so I started working on removing that first. The upper fuel hose was the one closest to the tank, and that was the one that had already split, so my best port of call was just to basically mutilate the hose until it came off, and then worked on removing the rest of the hose that still remained on the pipe. Once I'd removed the upper end, I started to work on the lower end. However, in the interest of fixing this in a timely fashion, I hadn't drained the fuel tank, so when you do this, definitely be careful of fuel still in the hose. And you're about to see why.
Learn from my mistakes, people. I just caught one in the eye. Goggles.
The old style Jubilee clips can be a massive pain, but what you're supposed to do is slot a screwdriver in it to release it off of the hose and then pull the hose out. Unfortunately, in my case, where the hose is 40 odd years old, you just batter it until it comes off the hose.
So what we have is the one-way fuel valve that I put in and the two Jubilee clips that I used. And this is the old style sort of Jubilee clip that was holding on this end, and that was a pain. That I basically just had to sort of tear apart to try and get off. That's why you didn't get to see me do it. This side I literally just mutilated and made sure it came off. But yeah, so this is out, and now time to replace this with our new hose.
First, cut a hose that's roughly the same length as the old one. I cut mine a bit longer to give it some extra slack. It's always better to have to trim off the excess than to not have enough and having to start again. I needed to cut my hose in half to make room for the one-way fuel valve. Now that you have the one-way fuel valve in, it's time to tighten up those Jubilee clamps as tight as you can get them. I have to admit, installing this one-way fuel valve outside of the car rather than in it is 10 times easier. Note to self, when installing, make sure the one-way fuel valve is flowing the right one way. In case you hadn't already figured it out, this fuel hose that I'm replacing is situated next to the tank at the rear of the vehicle. Now it's time to reinstall that brand new fuel hose. Once that new hose is sitting exactly how you want it, then tighten up those Jubilee clamps. The biggest thing to watch out for when installing this is to make sure that your clamp is tight enough that it can't get over the bead that is on the end of the pipe. I did have quite a bit of excess hose, but instead of cutting it off, I just slotted it as far onto the metal pipe as I could get it. The bead on the lower hose is situated here, and the one on the upper hose is situated closer to the one-way fuel valve than to the Jubilee clamp. As the Jubilee clip is quite far away from the bead on the pipe, it may slip, but if it was to slip, it would just provide more excess in the main bulk of the hose. Now it's time to start it up and see if all that effort was worth it.
Okay, and that concludes that episode. So it is all fixed. It's been a couple months now, so no problem so far. So happy days. So I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Like, subscribe and share, and I will see you in the next episode of Not a Roadrunner.